Arm's tired.
Oh, come on. That's the best you could come up with?
It's been like 2 months, man.
You suck.
Ah, shit. In case you didn't hear, the Writers Guild of America went on strike this month for the first.
Good meta commentary. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna pee. I'll be back in a second. This is Drew Gooden's new video on the writer strike, which I will be covering in a second.
In 15 years. As a result, shows like Saturday Night Live, The Daily Show, and Late Night with Jimmy have ceased production until negotiations are agreed upon. The longer the negotiations take, however, the more shows will be delayed and affected. It won't just be daily talk shows, it'll be entire seasons of your favorite Netflix show. And for the shows that insist on powering through without writers, it will have the potential to completely tank the entire series. Because that's what happened last time, and there's a very good chance it's going to happen again. If you don't remember the 2007 writers' strike, it was a weird time for TV. Scrambling to come up with new programming without being able to employ writers, a lot of networks started doubling down on reality shows, which really altered the landscape of television for years and years after that, even though the strike itself only lasted about 13 weeks. I mean, TLC started just falling around families with a bunch of kids for a while. That was kind of weird. The Apprentice went from being nearly canceled to one of the most popular shows on TV, which I'm sure didn't have any political ramifications about 9 years later. But maybe worst of all, they started airing Price is Right at night. A lot of scripted shows at the time basically imploded from the strike. Seasons would be cut short, or instead they'd just try to keep on making them without the writers, and that was usually a disaster. The one I personally remember being affected the most was Heroes. This show was so fun to watch when it first came out. It felt like a big event that like everyone was tuned into. But starting out, it was very similar to Lost's first season, where you've got like this huge ensemble of characters, and as it goes, you kind of spend each one episode fleshing them out each individually, and you start to realize how they're all intertwined. I remember the finale being like hinted at from the beginning, so you kind of knew where everything was going to converge, but you were still fascinated just to see how they would get there.
No, Heroes!
Also, the main villain of the show could cut people's heads open by pointing at them. And that was cool as hell. So when season 2 started, the showrunner developed this big vision for everything that would come, but had to slow things down for a bit, set up some new characters and plot points, get the ball rolling on that. And it was a little confusing, but you felt like it was all leading to something. Until the writer's strike hit. Suddenly they have to scramble to condense 12 episodes into a 2-part finale, and what was already a little bit of a mess only gets 100 times messier. All of the momentum the show needed going forward was gone. A lot of these new characters got so little airtime, but then became integral to the story, and in the dust was left a show that ultimately survived the strike, but never fully recovered from the damage. Most movies weren't affected nearly as much as scripted TV was, but the ones that were hit hard. Quantum of Solace was shot with very little script, and obviously no writers on set, so they just had Daniel Craig improvise lines that he thought James Bond would say, and you know, we'll fix it in post. They did not fix it in post. Transformers Revenge of the Fallen began filming with no script, just a 14-page outline written by Michael Bay himself.
What? What the fuck? Yo, I did not know that. Oh my god, they made such fucking dog shit, dude. That's crazy. Michael Bay was like, I don't need a script. It's just explosions anyway.
Knowing Transformers, 14 pages actually kind of seems like a lot. I can only assume he was using a really big font. But as rough as things got for the movies that bombed and the shows that got canceled, these failures were ultimately necessary for the Writers Guild to win, because they were able to prove the value that they had to companies who seemed to think that they didn't have any. All it took was hundreds of millions of dollars in lost revenue for Universal and Paramount to be like, wait, if we don't have writers to write the shows, then we can't make any shows.
Why do people keep saying new internet historian? Internet historian came out with a new video? Really? Why are people saying that?
And that we can't make any money off the shows? Why didn't you explain it to me like that in the first place? So eventually their demands were met, the strike ended, and the producers and writers lived happily ever after. Until like 12 days ago. The WGA is striking again with a few main bullet points. They're trying to stop production companies from continuing to shrink writers' rooms. They're fighting to be paid residuals for streaming shows rather than just a day rate. And they're fighting to keep AI out of the writers' room altogether, because as much as Silicon Valley tech bros look at ChatGPT with dollar signs in their eyes, it completely undermines writers and really the entire point of art in the first place. Not that that matters. So one of the biggest differences between this strike and the last one is that a lot of the demands coming from the writers are in regards to streaming services, which for years have been treated by Hollywood as like this fun little side thing that, you know.
Pretty fire for Drew to make this video, by the way. It's unique, it's entertaining, and it talks about the fucking writer's strike. I mean, what a fucking G, dude. What a ledge. What a fucking ledge. Absolute ledge, yeah. Fucking hell.
It doesn't come close to matching the allure and prestige of cable television.
I am a surgeon!
Even though
he put a good doctor in there too.
Well-respected show from the past 7 years has come from Apple TV, Netflix, or HBO Max. But because streaming is still archaically being viewed in this way, the writers are not able to receive nearly the same benefits. For example, thanks to past strikes and negotiations, network TV writers continue to get paid every time their show re-airs in syndication. So since shows like The Office and It's Always Sunny air over and over and over again on cable television and therefore continue to earn revenue, the writers keep getting paychecks. Which makes sense, right? As long as something keeps making money, then everyone involved in making it should keep getting a percentage of that money. But on streaming, there is no potential for growth for the people who helped bring it into existence. If you're involved in writing something that goes on to become the most popular show on Hulu for weeks and causes thousands of people to sign up for a subscription that they didn't have before just because they want to see the show you made, and maybe they even like it so much that they just continue to pay that subscription until the next season comes out, none of that matters to you because you'll never see any of that extra revenue that you helped earn. There's no financial upside for doing a good job. So overall, that's probably the biggest issue of the strike, but there are a few others. For years, production companies have been pushing for smaller and smaller writing rooms, which puts more work on the shoulders of fewer people and gets rid of the job security that used to be there for everyone who is now brought on for just as short of a time as humanly possible. Most of those people are paid for just a couple of weeks of work. They come in, they learn the show, they contribute a few ideas, and then they're told to get the fuck out of there so we don't have to put your name in the credits and we don't have to keep you employed while we continue to work on the thing that you helped come up with. And I think this is where one of the biggest misunderstandings about scripts comes in, where people treat it as if it's something the writers just type up and then they print it out and then the script is done. Now we can send all those people home and show them the movie when we're done filming it in 6 months. But that's not how it works, or at least not how it should and has in the past. Scripts are constantly evolving, even once filming starts. Sometimes everyone shows up to set and a joke doesn't really work as it was written because it just doesn't sound right coming from the actor, or a prop doesn't look like the way they had intended and now this line doesn't make sense.
It's wild that you gotta fucking describe this and how important it is. And originally I thought like, oh no, everybody understands that like writing is important. And then I realized, and then I, started streaming on twitch.tv one day when the writer's strike was happening, and people didn't even recognize that like the set you see, like what you see with your eyes, what you visualize, what you were seeing with your eyes was written on a script at some point, and people didn't even get that. Like people literally do not understand that like when you see a set, you think that like, oh, it came there on its own. Like, no, man, someone wrote that in there. So then they hired like a set designer and a bunch of other teams to basically put that together. Yeah, like when we were watching the trailer for 10 Cloverfield and someone was like, there's no lines in this, dog. What did the writers write? Everything. Fuck.
Or the location doesn't accommodate the shot that they had planned. So now we got to quickly get together and figure out an alternative because every second that we don't get work done, we are burning through our budget. Let's brainstorm, guys. From what I've heard from people in the industry, this stuff happens literally every day. It's just how filming goes. So having people in the room who wrote the words and understand the story inside and out is the best way to make a quick change that doesn't disrupt the flow of filming. It's a collaborative process from everyone involved in order to make the best thing possible. And sometimes that means adapting on the fly rather than just, sticking with words that were typed 4 months ago, no matter what happens. But like I said, this entire part of the process has slowly been getting cut out in order to save costs. And this is having two major effects on the industry. One, it's making shows not as good as they could be because you're having fewer people on set to contribute ideas when changes are inevitably needed. And two, writers are missing out on the invaluable experience that comes with being on set during your production, where they would get a glimpse into the entire process and everything everything that goes into bringing these scripts to life. Experience that historically has been vital as these writers continue to move up the career ladder to showrunner, director, executive producer. Like, they have to realize that they're cutting out this entire sector of built-in, inexpensive, on-the-job training in an industry where more and more money keeps getting thrown at these giant productions, but then you're handing the keys over to people who've never been even remotely taught how to be in charge of something like that.
In my own experience, I had a full room for 20 weeks with a brilliant group of writers. None of them were allowed to come to set. Their contracts ended before we started production. So they're all technically writer-producers. Some of them had the title of producer, but they were not welcome to set to produce their episodes, which is both robbing the show of their perspective. But your point is, it's robbing the future of the industry, because the thing.
What's so funny is that a lot of those guys are like copywriters with blue check marks, talking about people that direct and come up with the entertainment they enjoy. Bitch, you're a writer. You write shitty marketing type. You're not better. Yeah, well, that's the difference, because like, it's almost like you listen to Chapo in their latest episode. Yeah, everything revolves around Chapo in their latest episodes. So the thing is, I mean, I love Chapo. They're my friends, but like, come on now. Only Chapo knows things about writers. Oh my God. Gotta talk about David Simon. Thank you, friggin' Banana Pants. Yo, David Simon went on an unhinged rant, by the way. Not about this, but about cops. It was crazy. Did you guys see it? He was like defending cops and policing in the most unhinged way. Okay. Aaron Sorkin is anti-union. Let's go. Of course he is, dude. But a union makes sense when people have more power as a group on having share credit, just write process on the strike. I'm also one of the 9% of the Writers Guild who did not write the vote to support the strike. Let's go. You know, of course Aaron Sorkin is anti-fucking union, dude. Of course he is. 2010. Let's go, baby. Let's fucking go, dude. Of course he is. God, he is so unhinged. David Simon supports the strike at least? Of course. David Simon supports the strike, and he also supports... David Simon is responsible for the best anti-propaganda media that is available for public consumption. And I find it truly hilarious that he spends so much of his time on Twitter defending cops now. Like, where is it? I need to find it. Not the writer's strike one. We'll do one good. We'll do one good David Simon on the writer's strike thing, and then we'll do one on him defending cops. Okay. So Richard Hanania, who is a fucking absolute freakazoid, okay, wrote this. I don't have much hope that we'll solve crime in any meaningful way. It would require a revolution in our culture or form of government. We need more policing, incarceration, and surveillance of black people. Blacks won't appreciate it. Whites don't have the stomach for it. So he just wrote that out loud, which is like insanely racist, right? I mean, absolutely unimaginably racist. So Jeet here turns around and says, this is what all Law and Order people think, but most aren't honest enough to express it publicly, right? David Simon saw that and said, hey, what's up, guys? I'm David Simon, the writer, director of The Wire. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm David Simon. I wrote and directed some of the best anti-cop videos you have seen. I did an incredible rendition of the original work of journalism coming out of Baltimore on We Own the Night is what it was called. I've talked about this a lot. Hey, what's up? I'm David Simon, and I love cops. Hello. He worked on, hey, what's up? I'm David Simon. I worked on the Baltimore Sun City desk for 12 years and wrote Homicide, a year on the killing streets. What's up? I'm David Simon, and you might recognize me from We Own the City Or, what's up, I'm David Simon. You might recognize me from defending the most unhinged racist screed that I will defend now for no reason. He said he's an asshole, but you're doing no one any good service by using him to hyperbolically declare that any and all argument for sound policing is racist in origin or intent. It's like, why did you think that this was about you? Like, you literally could have avoided talking about this. You could have just read that and moved on. But he was like, no, I'm David Simon. I also think law and order. I'm a law and order guy. Okay? So I'm going to fucking defend it. You can't stop me. I'm David fucking Simon. Okay? It isn't. And a deterrent based on competent retroactive investigation of felonies works. Addressing violent crime by seriously, I fucking had to bookmark it, by seriously probing incidents, especially those in the most vulnerable neighborhoods, and arresting repeat offenders may in fact be the most definitive thing law enforcement can do to reduce serious crime. This has been demonstrated dramatically by several policing initiatives going back to Boston's remarkable programming in 1995. And nothing here argued for profiling or targeting or randomized engagement with black citizens. That shit is certainly worth condemning. But the fact is, when police fail to seriously probe and resolve crimes against vulnerable communities, crime goes up. So here's one thing I have to mention. And it's funny because, like, I say similar things, not defending Richard Hanania, okay? But, like, I say this all the time. I'm like, dog, you still need, like, someone to solve crimes. Whenever someone comes up to me and is like, I'm crusty, and I think, like, there's no reason for policing. We should just, focus on a rehabilitative approach to justice that also does not mean that there's no enforcement of the rules and laws that we have collectively decided are sound, right, for societal development. And I'm like, no, that's stupid because someone needs to solve the crimes. I'm saying police don't currently, okay? You have a 50-50 chance of getting away with murder in this country. That's right. For the record, for those of you who don't know, that's literally a factually correct statistic. It blows my fucking mind, honestly. 50-50 chance of getting away with murder in this country. Only 50% of murders are cleared. Okay, so let's continue, right? So they're not even doing a good job. Okay? So, but ultimately, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because, like, you still need a group of people to just be like, yeah, we gotta solve it. Like, we gotta solve crime.